Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sci Fi Bookery. Today we're hanging out in my basement lair on my dog's couch, and we're talking about The Final Six by Alexandra Monir. Monir. I should probably look up how to pronounce people's names before I talk about their books. Anyways, this is First Chapter Friday, where I read the first chapter of a book, tell you what I think, and tell you if I'm going to continue the book or not. This book, The Final Six, is actually part of a series by Monir. I'm going to say Monir. I don't know. Anyways, in which she chronicles the journey from Earth to creating a civilization on another planet. And this one is the beginning of it, which is great. Good to start from the beginning. And it follows this young man, a teenager, who his entire family is killed in a catastrophic flood. There's all kinds of like climate change stuff in here, but more realistic, I think, than most people do it. It starts out in Italy. It's a journey across the world kind of story, but it starts off in Italy, and it follows this boy as he just gives up on life and decides to end it all, but then is pulled out of it by something happening in his neighborhood, and he goes and finds out that there is a draft, and they are drafting astronauts to go and colonize this new world. So the new world is so far away that they have to draft teenagers so that by the time they get there, they're grown enough to be able to colonize the world and populate the world, if you know what I'm saying. So this book follows, or at least the first chapter follows this boy as he discovers this draft and finds out who gets drafted from Italy to represent the Earth. So it's the final six because when kids get drafted, they go to this camp and they get whittled down to six finalists who then get sent to space to colonize this new place. So overall, this is definitely like a juvenile, I wouldn't say juvenile, teenage, middle school, high school kind of book. It does follow teenagers, and they're getting drafted in this competition. It's so much like Hunger Games. I laughed a couple times because there's so many points in that first chapter where it was like, this is just Hunger Games in space, maybe? I mean, I don't think anybody dies, but there's definitely like life and death consequences in the first chapter. It's very, very dramatic. It reminds me of a lot of stuff that, you would read in middle school that's like very dramatic because your life is very dramatic in middle school. Whereas when you grow a little bit older, you start to realize like that's not really that big of a deal, but they overemphasize a lot of the stuff with death and with mourning death and stuff like that just in the first chapter, which I thought was really good. And it's good for teenagers to learn about that. When I was in high school, I think it was high school, I took a class called The Literature of Death where we read a lot of stories based around death, dying, mourning, and it was fundamental in my approach to death as an adult. So I think stuff like that is important for kids to read about if it's done well. In this story, it's pretty morbid at the beginning, but it's not descriptively morbid. It's just the concepts alone. But like I said, it's more for younger readers, so I'm gonna DNF it, but I would actually recommend it if you have a middle schooler, eighth grade-ish, up into like high school, that would get into some kind of sci-fi, because I read a lot of reviews on this. I watched a couple of videos, and it's supposedly a very good series. Just for me, I wasn't really interested in the character being like a teenager and then this whole like Hunger Games thing that was going on. But hey, if you like the Hunger Games, this one might be for you. The writing is very good, though. I'll give it to Monir. I don't know. The writing is really good, and it's very YA focused. It's good for a good kind of writing for teens. It's fast paced. It's introspective. So in those ways, outstanding. But so I'm going to DNF it for me. But like I said, I could recommend it to somebody else. This is First Chapter Friday. This is the final 6 by Alexandra Monir. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.